Hello anybody, and welcome back to Let's Play Super Metroid. I am Mr. Devious, or just Deeb, and in the previous episode, we started Super Metroid, we landed on planet Zebes, and we started exploring in search of the baby Metroid, who our arch-enemy rivalry Ridley stole from us, from the space station before it blew up. That's a bit of a mouthful to say, but yeah. Just as a re-summary of the plot as it is, that is why we are on planet Zebes. We brought the planet to life also because we found the old pirate base of operations, and in doing that, we kind of seemed to bring everything to life because we activated a security system or something, but yeah, that's about it. Here is actually a very useful area for you to use your aiming up, the R button, because the R button actually lets you, and if you look at the map, we obviously need to go down here, but yeah, this is actually a good area to test out aiming down and aiming up with the shoulder buttons, and the game actually does throw a fair amount of buttons at you early on for you to figure out, but it doesn't give you too much to handle. I mean, you got the select to switch between normal shots and missiles, but most enemies you should be able to take care of with your normal gun. So yeah. So that takes care of those, and these enemies can do a fair amount of damage. It's actually pretty easy to die in Super Metroid, so you kind of want to be careful about that. Red doors, of course, take 5 missiles, and every time you find a Torizo statue, this usually means there's a power-up. Like last time, we got a missile, and we're going to get this, now we're going to get ourselves a bomb. Now, what do bombs do? They let us attack while in morph ball mode, and that's very useful. That's going to be very key to our exploration, and we go to leave, but the door's shut on us. Now, why could... Oh, boy, no! That Torizo was a fake! It's a Torizo! I think it's a Torizo. This is actually our first real boss fight in the game that isn't Ridley. And it's a fake Torizo statue, and it is gonna try and kill us. It's gonna shoot fake eggs at us. I think that's called a Torizo. And I think they were like... That's like in their lore, they're supposed to be like... the opposite to the Torizos or something, or if they're, I don't know if they're mechanical or if they're supposed to be organic, but it's fairly easy. It's a fairly easy first fight, and of course you can make it go faster if you use missiles on it, which I have not been using. So of course you shoot it a few times and pieces of it fly off, and I love the progressive damage in this game that somehow happens, and we just get a crap ton of missiles, probably because we have full health. Every time you beat a boss, the game is actually very generous in giving you a ton of pickups to work with. So that's really cool and nice and cool. Let me just check the audio real quick as we get swarmed by bugs. Okay, just needed to check the audio was working for a moment there because in my very first recording, it didn't work because the audio didn't work out. So yeah, I said I wasn't going to talk about it much in the first episode, and now I'm talking about it again. I'm sorry. So immediately we come up here, and Metroid is usually very good about this. When you get yourself a new power-up, you actually have to use that power-up to get through the area. Now, unlike missiles, our bombs are unlimited, and that is good because we actually need the bombs to platform and such. I mentioned in the previous episode that... that sequence breaking and the such in speedrunning is very popular in this game. This might have actually been one of the first games to really popularize speedrunning and sequence breaking in particular. Don't quote me on that, I don't know, but this is like one of the most popular. Actually, I'm gonna save again since I'm here. May as well. One thing that's actually troubling about this game is that save stations don't actually restore your health. So if you save your game when you only have like 5 health left, you gotta be very careful to refill it back up. So my recommendation is to be careful about when you save because you don't want to run out of health, because that would suck, as you should know. But now that we have bombs, we can proceed down this way. We could also take a path up ahead, up above, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go this way because little dots on the map usually mean there's a treasure, and that's usually, it looks like a dead end. Keep in mind, Super Metroid has a lot of hidden areas that aren't on the map, but for the most part, it's pretty reliable. Also, it's got the item pickup jingle, which is really good in this game. Now, it doesn't hurt to always kind of explore around whenever you get a thing, because usually in treasure rooms, not usually, that's kind of a misnomer, but in some treasure rooms in the game, you are able to kind of find hidden paths, and look, there are of course hidden paths through walls. Now this might seem like it might encourage the kind of gameplay where you just rub your face all over again until you find the secrets, but it's actually not that bad about it. I mean, it kind of feels like it early on if you want to get everything, but for the most part, actually, you don't really need to do that much, and later in the game you get a power-up that actually kind of alleviates the process and simplifies things. And I wish Metroid actually used that item a little bit more, or incorporated it better. That item is a fairly good idea, but it isn't implemented perfect, and we'll see that later when we get it. So we come down to this mushroom area, and just... Metroid is very good about world building, about making these environments, and most of the enemies you fight are just kind of the natural fauna of this world. There are sure some enemies that are clearly, like, supposed to be allied with the pirates, but that's just how it goes. I mean, obviously, the pirates are kind of like artificial, and here we have our first energy tank, which I think is probably the best power-up in Metroid games, period. Okay, maybe that's it. Because I like life boosts. That gives us the little pink corner, little pink square up in the left corner, that's an extra 100 health. And here we have new pirates, new pirate types, green types, green. And this is actually a detail I really like about the game, is the pirates are constantly enhancing their weaponry and their abilities to counter you. Like the first pirates we fought, they died in a simple shot, so now they made pirates that can kind of deflect our basic shots in which we need missiles for. And I like that kind of progressive thinking. The pirates are pretty... I mean, they're kind of considered a joke in the not the Zelda games, in the Metroid games, specifically the Prime games that had Metroid Prime games, which had pirate lore, which had them do silly things and such, and they were kind of funny, but they are kind of menacing. So we come to this really spooky room, which has these golden statues with glowing eyes. What could it be? And we can see the only thing that is kind of striking about the statue, you might notice, is that's Ridley up on the top. And you might recognize the others. I mean, you know what this is if you've played Metroid before, Super Metroid. But for the most part, that's actually a really cool and creepy and spooky, foreshadowing, ominous thing. And I like how the music stops when you go down that chamber. And the question is, what is that place? It's actually kind of an homage, I guess if you think about it, to the original Metroid in a certain area, but I'm not going to explain how. So we actually already have a few enemies that are immune to like basic shots and stuff, and also this weird nest thing. So we can't kill that thing. Also, it's important to keep an eye on your energy, because knockback isn't different or anything for how much damage you take from certain things, and some enemies will do a lot more damage than others. Like, some will just do 5, and some will do tons. This won't really be an issue for a little bit, but it is something to keep in mind. So we're going to head down this way, and this is actually going to take us to our first... or this is going to take us out of Crateria, and elevators are our basic way out of areas. And I think this is actually Brinstar. Yes, we are in Brinstar, which is also the most organic area on the planet, which is funny because Brinstar was like the basic starting area of Metroid 1, but this is more themed to be like, well, I'm not going to say what it's actually themed more like in Metroid 1, because that's actually a bit of a spoiler for this early game. So already we come down here and there are all these red doors that are blocked off to us, so yeah, they're basically all red doors. Can we go down here? I'm a very explorative person. Also, the cool thing about Morph Ball Bombs is they kind of reveal secret tiles to you. The secret tiles by which those tiles can be destroyed by something that you just don't have yet. So we have these red guys up here, which we're going to ignore. We're going to start kind of doing this from the top down. And we're going to blow up that one while we're here. And, of course, when you blow up missile doors, they stay open like that. And here we have side hoppers, which are actually pretty dangerous enemies, all things considered. Now, one of the coolest things about this game is just the ability to crouch and duck, and Samus is actually very agile once you get to use her properly. And I think if we keep going this way, yes. If there's a general rule of thumb for Super Metroid is if you're not sure if something is a dead end or not, Morph Ball Bombs are a pretty good way of telling, and this was actually a good place to go, because this actually gets us some good map data. Some good map data. I like good map data more than bad map data. So already we can see where, like, the red doors go. They lead to power-ups, and then there's one path that actually will take us further down Brinstar. So we're going to be getting the power-ups that we can. Now, already the music has kind of already shifted, but it's going to be kind of... this is going to be the general theme of the music that we're going to be getting as we're playing, is it's going to be more moody, and I wouldn't know if to call it minor key or not, but also this is a room. If the door is gray, that usually means you have to kill all the enemies in the room to get out, but yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, the music, I don't know if you'd say it's in minor key, but it's more ambient than melody based. I mean, there are some good tracks with melodies. Now, enemies that come out of these pipes infinitely are actually very good for, like, restocking up on health and supplies, so don't ever be afraid to use these if you're running low. However, you kind of need to bait them to come out. Now, funny thing about this part of the game is if you aren't... Well, first we get a missile, so that's pretty cool. You're probably going to fall down here your first time because you don't necessarily know that these are crumbly blocks. And crumbly blocks are kind of the bane of Metroid players' existence. So you try to jump across here and you can't make it, so what the heck. Also, that door closed, so you can't get past it unless you leave the room and come back. Now, you might be wondering, and this is actually where, funnily enough, a lot of players get stuck. And the reason is, you need to run. You need to hold down the run button. And as I've said before, Samus doesn't run slow. It seems like she is already moving at max speed, but she can actually move very fast. And clearly I didn't move fast enough to get past that, so I'm going to have to try that again. Okay, I feel really stupid because it occurs to me that this is actually an optional path and not the way we go, but the way to progress is actually a little bit like that room, so I don't feel too bad about kind of getting stuck in there, but we'll be back in that room a little bit later. But gosh, I do feel silly for getting stuck in there. We are going to save real quick. Yes, I would like to save. Really wish these things healed you, but they don't. Oh well, just means you have to be careful when you save. It's still miles of better than the original Metroid, where if you died, it always started you back with like 30 health. Even if you had energy tanks, you needed to actually get your health back up, and 30 life in the end game meant you could die in just nothing. Now these are actually, this is a neat mechanic, is these fireflies, I guess I'm just gonna call them, is they keep the room illuminated, but if you blow them up, the room is going to get really dark, and obviously it's filled with spikes. Now this room here is actually a missile refill station, which we don't really need, I guess, but it's here if you need it. So yeah, going to be getting back to the main path now that we've explored the branching paths. Sometimes the dots are power-ups, sometimes they're just like weapon stations or like refill or energy refill stations, and the energy refill stations can be very useful in particular. Missile stations, well, it really depends. Unless you use like missiles constantly, it shouldn't be an issue. Usually in my experience, the Mega Buster, I mean Samus's arm cannon, is usually sufficient, except for like a few enemies that require. But then maybe I'm just misremembering how things go, and here of course we have these enemies which are kind of mean, and maybe I should stop standing still while I shoot. Never forget about your shoulder buttons to aim. They're actually very useful and actually make Super Metroid really hard to play on a keyboard. But I'm not playing on a keyboard, I'm playing on the Wii U Virtual Console, so that's neato. Also, this area is very pink. I don't know what to make of that, but it's just very pink. And again, your solution to kind of areas that you don't know what to do about is to... Actually, can I just shoot through that? No, I can't. Okay, we got this weird blocky thing that looks suspicious. Super Metroid is usually pretty good about indicating which areas are dangerous. We got armored enemies, which we cannot shoot. Metroid has a lot of enemies that are armored and that you can't necessarily kill right away, or some that you're just supposed to bait out and then get rid of. So we come to this big old room, and there's a save station up there, and I think I know where I'm going next. Maybe. As I've said before, I don't remember a ton of Super Metroid. I mean, I've played it, I've beaten it more than a few times, but I'm not an expert, and I don't remember where every little thing is, so I don't know if this is going to be like... I don't think it's going to be 100% run, but we'll see. And we got these bugs here, and of course, a little bit of trouble. I should be using... We got an orange door, don't know what that does yet. I should be using missiles more often than I do, but, well, I'm just kind of... I wouldn't say paranoid, but I'm a little bit paranoid. So I don't know if I should actually be coming down here, but I do want this extra missile upgrade, so I'm gonna take it. But before I head down further this way, I'm actually gonna head all the way back up, and I'm gonna actually... wait, I don't know if I can actually get back up there now. Yeah, I can get back up here. So I'm going to try and get back up there quickly, fairly quick. I am not playing very well. But yeah, I'm going to try and get back up there at a reasonable pace. I'll see you up there. Now the reason I've come back up here is because there's something that we really want that's up here. But, wait, can we actually get it yet? I think so, and of course I'm getting wrecked by these enemies. These side hoppers actually do a ton of damage for the early game. So I'm gonna come in here, and of course I'm gonna save. You might be wondering, what are you saving for? And I think I know I'm gonna end this episode if the game lets me. So I'm gonna save first, and I'm gonna scratch an itch. I could end the episode there, but I feel like we haven't really done that much, and I feel bad about that area I got stuck in. So I'm gonna go this way, and I'm gonna shoot this guy. And this actually is a very good opportunity to refill on like health and stuff. So like, don't be afraid to sit here and do that. The game is usually fairly good about giving you refills where you need them. And why you need them here is because if you go over this way, we're gonna be facing a thing. A thing, you might say. What kind of thing? Well, the door closed behind us, so that might be an indication. We also got these bug guys, who are fairly dangerous enemies. I shouldn't be actually be using my missiles too much here. If you shoot them, their wings fall off, and they kind of, that's a cool detail. I think these guys actually do a lot of damage if you let them. And here we have these, I don't know what these are, but I don't trust them. I think that might just be decoration, but yeah. You take care of those enemies, and you come up here, and we've come to our next boss. So we avoid these spores, and this is Spore Spawn. This is kind of a, well, a lot of people remember this boss. Although I think more people remember the music more than anything. It's got a very strange tune. Now it's gonna open up, and you should probably try and shoot it with missiles when you get the chance. If you roll around in your morph ball form down here, he isn't able to hit you. So that's kind of a safe zone when you're doing this boss fight, and it is one you should keep in mind. This boss is actually fairly easy to die to. I think I died on it my first try. I died a lot my first time playing this game, and I still expect to die a few times in this run through, but maybe I'm just being a little too negative. So yeah, he's gonna bounce around and open up, and you want to shoot. I think you can always get like 2 missiles in there. Missiles are the way to go. Don't shoot them with like little energy shots. So, oop. I think he does the most damage if he actually hits you, but his spores don't do too much damage. And now he's opening and going really fast. He's also turning a dark, ugly color, and that's something I really like. Against the fake Chozo statue, I mentioned that that was like really cool, that it like broke apart. And most bosses don't actually do that, but they do have very good like color changes. Now here I think he's only going to change to colors that... He's, well, not going to change the colors, but he's only going to let us shoot 1 missile per, but that's okay, because we nearly have him. So you dodge between these as the morph ball, and then you shoot him again, and of course, you just take the shots you can. However, I think we're almost done this. We just got to avoid between some spores, and yeah, at this point you may as well just stay kind of on the ground until he opens up. And, oh, now you know he's nearly dead, because most enemies when they're nearly dead are just such an off color from when they started. He was a vibrant green when we killed him. I mean, when we started fighting him, and now he's like this dark, rotten orange, black. And of course, that finishes him off. And it kind of kills this entire room. So yeah, good job, we've killed the vegetation in this chamber area, and killing him turns him into a platform, which helps us up here. Now what's up here is probably the most useful weapon in the game. Probably. The most effective, like all the way through, it's going to be reliable. So you come here, and there's this thing, and you stand on it, and it crumbles. You fall all the way down. This is a long shaft. Oh boy. You shoot this, super missiles. Super missiles are consistently one of the, probably the best overarching power-up of the series, except for one that I can think of off the top of my head, but we're not going to get into that. Now, you don't actually need a super missile to go back through this door, so that's nice. Usually the game makes you use a power-up you just got to get out, and it might actually still do that, but for now, we're not going to actually... Yep, right here. So super missiles shake the screen. They just do a ton of damage if you actually shoot them. Ammo for them is scarce, so you should save them for bosses and enemies that particularly need it. So I'm just going to actually work my way back to the save station now. I think I'm going to... Also, you got to shoot your way through here. I'm just going to work my way back to the save station, probably call the episode there, yeah. It's getting a little bit long. I didn't mean to shoot more of those. I'm sorry. just picking up a few refills for my super missiles because it is worth it to keep stocked up on them and use like the refill things when you get the chance. Now, one thing that's really cool about this game is unless I'm wrong, it won't give you pickups you don't need. So if you have full health and full missiles, it won't give you missiles if you need super missiles. I might be wrong on that, but if it is like that, that is just a great design and a great way to do the game. But I think, anyway, we have had a full day. This has been like a full episode of content. We got the Morph Ball Bombs, we killed Spore Spawn. I think today has been a very successful episode, and I think we're just going to take a rest and reprieve in this save capsule. So, thank you for joining me today on this episode where we killed the Torizo, I think it's called Torizo, and Spore Spawn, and got the Super Missiles and Morph Ball Bombs. If you want to see us go further into the grassy depths of Brinstar, then I just hope to see somebody in the next one. Bye-bye!